And Barkley, it's not that I hate him. It's not that I think he can't earn top 5 to 10 running back value, but there are much safer options, a handful of them. Not just like one or two and I'm like on the fence, like a handful of options feels safer than Barkley walking into 2021. And that's what makes him a total avoid for me, because I can't envision a scenario where a running back or wide receiver isn't there that I like a whole lot more, that's a whole lot safer. So I'm pretty much going to for sure be making Barkley someone else's risk to take in 2021.
The only way I will draft him is if he's in the 3rd round.
That's far. You're gonna upset some people with that, Doc.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. Smitty. Take a lap. About a month ago, I started trying to push the old let's move Saquon Barkley down from 4, who I actually was really high on just not too long ago, like about a month and a half ago, because of the way this guy has that thigh strength that's so tied to, ACL recovery. He's got those quads that like almost like knee wrapped in muscle. He's got a really tight joint. So I was real excited about his recovery, but then we started hearing things like he's not even sure if he's going to be ready, limited workload. Not any one of those things would have frightened me too much, because you hear that stuff all the time with an ACL recovery. But I'm starting to get really, really worried about him. And when he's going and pick 4, 5, 6, that's just way too early. So about a month ago, when Elliott was going about 8 or 9, Barkley was going about 4, I'm like, these two need to swap. But I'm still concerned at 7, 8, 9, I'm feeling a lot like I am about Jonathan Taylor, where I'm like, okay, I can go Diggs or I can go with Adams here. I like the idea at 9, taking Adams or Diggs and going with Najee Harris or Gibson as my running back 1 in round 2, then going with Barkley and taking a wide receiver in round 2, or going running back. Tell me the medical reasons why you are concerned about Barkley, and then tell me what you're thinking about him ADP wise.
The last elite running back that came back from an ACL tear in season and returned to RB1 status was none other than current 36-year-old Adrian Peterson. Okay? He's not the first one to tear his ACL. Dalvin Cook took a year. A lot of the other guys never really returned to that level of relevance. Someone who tears it in college, separate discussion. Talking about NFL here. The guys that are in the NFL that have tore it and expecting them to return at said level. The other thing, mental game. The ACL reportedly takes the first year, they're not ready for it. They don't trust it enough on a hard cut. I'm talking running full speed, 15, 18, 20 miles an hour, and then stopping on a dime and going to the right or to the left. That's what you need your ACL for.
And not to mention the rewiring of the brain, because I've torn my ACL, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, and I'm not saying I'm a professional athlete, rehabbing it the way they do, but it literally, there'd be times where I'd be walking and I'd be like, okay, we're going to go this way, and my leg wouldn't move yet, and it'd have to catch up. It's like a rewiring and communicating to the knee. So there's a whole lot more going on than people think in terms of that
this
mental
is
game.
So the only other guy that was kind of the exception besides Peterson, now the rule, is Jamaal Charles. It's the only other one that comes to mind that I'm like, yeah, he came back and was a monster. But that's a hard ask. Do I think the Giants are going to put, I shouldn't second guess myself with their GM, but nonetheless, do I think they're going to give him 200, 250 touches, a ton of targets, and expect him to stay healthy all 17 games and play all 17 games. But based on his ADP, that's what you need.
Yeah, it comes down to safer. Like, do I hate Barkley? No. Have I changed my tune a little bit? Yes, I'm a human being. We, as analysts, need to adjust and adapt. I'm so tired of hearing people say, hey, you liked Barkley earlier, or hey, you liked so-and-so earlier, or you're high on him now, you weren't high on him. We need to adjust and adapt, and information coming in, it's part of what you do with injuries. You've got to adjust and adapt, and sometimes it's gut instinct, sometimes it's a combination of the science and gut instinct. And Barkley, it's not that I hate him, it's not that I think he can't earn top 5 to 10 running back value, but there are much safer options in a handful of them. Not just like one or two and I'm like on the fence. Like a handful of options feels safer than Barkley walking to 2021. And that's what makes him a total avoid for me, because I can't envision a scenario where a running back or wide receiver isn't there that I like a whole lot more, that's a whole lot safer. So I'm pretty much going to for sure be making Barkley someone else's risk to take in 2021.
The only way I will draft him is if he's in the 3rd round.
That's far. You're gonna upset some people with that, Doc.
It's all about risk versus reward.
Right. No, I hear you.
I know too much about these knees. I know what they rehab. I know what they inject. I know what they surgically fix. Most of you don't.
Yeah. And you know what's going to be, what's going to be funny is when this, well, no, not funny. I don't mean it that way. What's going to be interesting is if things go wrong, it's going to be, that was hard to predict. You can't, like, I hear that more than anything with injury stuff that I talk about. Because I do.
They haven't read any of my articles.
Right. People just, they can't accept when you're right on an injury. And it's not you or me taking a victory lap. It's not you or me trying to pat ourselves on the back. It's not you or me rooting for an injury. What you are doing more so than anybody, and I try and do my best at it, but I'm no doc like you, but we try our best to predict and avoid risk. That's more of what I'm about. It's not about me hating Cam Akers or rooting against him or trying to do a victory lap, but he smelled like a walking injury. And some of it's gut, some of it's not. His style of play was inviting to injury. He was a very aggressive runner, and I think we talked about this on the last show when you and I talked about Cam. He lowers his head and literally runs into every defensive player with his neck. There's a whole lot of reasons to have worried about Cam, and I think it's such a crucial part. I love what you do, and trying to not predict injury, try to guide you statistically in the odds game, direction, the best direction possible with these injury odds that we're trying to paint for people.
All right, you want to hear something kind of crazy?
Yeah.
His risk score is for running backs. I'll step back. Hold on. Ready? Out of my top 20 running backs, Saquon has the highest risk score. Tied for the highest risk score.
I'm going to guess Akers is second.
He's tied for 3rd.
Who's tied with him?
Mixon.
Talk about that, Doc. I got to put another player up. Hold on.
No, that's a separate debate. No, we're good. That. Okay. And then another one that I'm not going to discuss here because it'll be another hour.
The reason I wanted to is because I'm such a Mixon doubter and I get so much hate for it. But we'll come back to that another day. Go ahead. Who's the other one?
I got some new intel recently that I can't say specifically, but.
He's one of my biggest avoids, Mixon, and there's a lot of injury risk to him, whether people want to admit it or not. I've been around long enough. He's on the injury report all the time. Just because he doesn't miss this significant amount of time with an injury, he's always banged up. And he's like Gurley. I'm going to say this, like Gurley, he got smashed at the line of scrimmage for years because of the 8-man fronts he faced. And Gurley, if you remember the year Gurley broke out, the year prior to that, he had a really bad year and down year because of the abuse he took the year prior. And I feel like Mixon, while the stars are aligning for him to have an opportunity, they're stretching the field. They got Jamar Chase. I do believe the Bengals will look fantastic. he might just have too much wear and tear. But we'll get to that another day.
I will say one thing, and I'll leave it at that. And this is something that as a drafter you can't control, and it might change your entire tune on the Bengals. It has to do with the Bengals medical staff.
Okay. They brought over the guy that did the injection on Tyrod Taylor.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's general. I've spoken with players that are currently on the Bengals that had some interesting news that I never would have knew unless I talked to them.
I'll wait for that.
I'll just say it that there's some crazy stuff that I would have never guessed. It's 2021, but I swear it was 2020. No, 2000, sorry. Not 2020. Like, I'm like, huh?
Okay.
They're like, yeah. I'm like,
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Everybody watching this is a fantasy fan, right? Presumably. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to keep track of all of the injury news, all of the regular beat reporter. Oh, I like this guy. Oh, this guy looks slow, whatever. That's why I created this. This is an app, TFD, on both Apple and Android that basically does it for you. Check it out. It's really cool. It's simple. And by the time games start, which is basically next week, you're going to want to be on something that has everything available at your fingertips without having to scroll between 500
What do they got to type in the App Store? The Fantasy Doctor?
No, just do T period, F period, D period.
Okay,
just
T
like,
period,
just do TFD, but it has periods in between.
Okay.
And you'll find it, and it's going to, you'll be like, this is what I thought I didn't know I needed, but now I need it.
Okay. Yeah, guys, go download that app and give Dr.
I'm excited about it because it made my life a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. And your man Smitty gets filtered into that too. So
a lot of the content that you love is already on there.
Ready to roll.
And if there's something that you want on there that maybe you think should be on there that isn't on there, shoot me a message. I'll look into it. If it meets the criteria, I'll add it.
And if you're on Dr. Jesse Morse's side of the fence, you can find me live every single Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube. Just go to smitty1.com. But 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., I'd like to get you on that show too at some point.
Yeah, we'll do something in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm live every Tuesday and Thursday, 5 to 7. All right, Dr. Jesse Morse, appreciate you. Thanks for dropping a lot of fire tonight. Hopefully people don't come at you too strong, all the Dalvin Cook.
That's all right. That's what we're here for. I back all my information and opinions up with knowledge and a lot of research. While you guys were taking the last 6 months off, guess what I was looking at?
Yeah, injuries. Okay. Thanks, man. So there you have it. That interview was fun, and you got two different perspectives. Both of us are pretty pessimistic on Barkley's return to form, okay? So you have not only my semi-pessimistic outlook, but you have Dr. Jesse Morse's extremely pessimistic outlook. But two people telling you to stay clear of Barkley at the current cost, what your entry point is right now. Trust your gut. If your gut tells you go Barkley, go Barkley. I'm not here to detour you away from trusting your gut. I'm merely here to help guide you in the right direction if you might be on the fence about a certain player. There is a certain percentage chance that Barkley could do really well in 2021. There is the odds of that. The same way you have odds going into a casino and hitting the jackpot on a slot machine, on whatever. Wouldn't shock me if Barkley played well, but it feels like the deck is stacked against you in terms of Barkley delivering on his current ADP, which is going like from 5 to 10. Like I said in the video, I believe there are safer options for you in 2021. It doesn't mean I hate Barkley, doesn't mean I'm not rooting for him. But I've told you to avoid Akers. I've told you to avoid Mike Thomas. I'm telling you, stay clear of Barkley, stay clear of Henry at their current ADPs. Doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean I wouldn't draft them at the right value. There's a line in the sand where a player becomes risky, flips into good value. Those lines are a little bit further down than Henry's and Barkley's current ADPs. Now go get them.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. Smitty.